Hello, everyone. Ryan Kramer here from PingPong Payments. This is Crossover Commerce presented by PingPong Payments. I'm here today on a Monday. Hopefully, everyone had a good weekend. We're coming live today with a very special guest in mind, the CEO and founder of Page.One, Keith O'Brien. Let me bring in Keith right there. Hey, Keith, how's it going?
Hey, great, Ryan. Thanks, man.
Hey, thanks for joining with me today. I know we were just talking a little bit about what we've been up to. You're down there in sunny Florida, correct?
Yes, as you can see behind me, we actually have a day without rain today for the first time in ages.
I was gonna say it doesn't look too miserable outside where I'm at, but it's awesome to have you on today. We've been messaging back and forth talking about like what's been going on in the industry. You've watched a couple times. Wanted to hop on and share a couple tidbits of knowledge. To be fully transparent with everyone who's listening today. Again, thank you for everyone listening on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. We appreciate having you guys here. Just let us know where you're listening from. Ask your questions. We'll get to those for sure. But when Keith was asking, what do you want me to talk about? And he sent over Amazon, life, entrepreneurship. I said, oh, that sounds great. But he was actually talking about, I can talk about anything. So I took him for what his word was, talk about literally anything. So if you have a question about anything, Keith is the guy to ask.
But no politics, religion, or COVID.
Right. There we go. I was going to say, we might touch on business COVID because it's kind of intermediate. But we won't talk about anything super polarizing. But yeah, thanks for hopping on. I know you're a busy guy. It's Q4. It's kind of a crazy time right now, right? Like tell us a little bit about Page. Do you call it Page.One or do you call it Page.One? What's the
Page.One?
Just Page.One. Okay. But yeah. I didn't know if that was a specific thing that you wanted to have in there, but what's that background like? Tell our audience what Page.One is and how you kind of came to form the business.
Sure. I guess to start, so Page.One, we're a full service Amazon agency. So, and hi, Hari, saying hi over there. But so we actually started really differently probably than a lot of agencies. We really started, building from the inside out. So we've been around the Amazon space for 6 years, I guess, this month. Previous company, I was co-owner of a company called I Love to Review, which was really the first to market in the Amazon review space back when it was TOS compliant. So that led us up through October of 2016. When the TOS got changed, we decided to shut that company down, launched into the agency side. And we really started, Ryan, with, we started doing content optimization. So we started doing Amazon SEO, copywriting services. We bolted on with photography and design shortly thereafter, and then we bolted on Amazon advertising management the next year and launched full brand management services last year. So, we kind of grew from the inside out. So, what's unique about Page.One as an agency, we really do understand conversion rate optimization and how all the pieces of the puzzle fit together, not just managing brands, right? So we take a very kind of scientific and optimization-based approach to it all. So that's kind of how I grew up in the industry. I started selling a few years back, about maybe 3 years ago. So just to really kind of stay in the game and stay active and make sure I'm seeing things just like our clients are. So that's where it's been. We have a nice team here. We have 2 huge studios here in Florida. We probably shoot 100 plus products a month, maybe more, and are managing some great brands. We have, we probably on the low end, I'd say like we do work with a couple of startups that were well funded and understand what they're looking at and kind of the lifespan of getting started on Amazon. But most of the time, for full brand management, we come in when a business is doing, at least $500,000 a year. Kind of our sweet spot is that $1 million to $10 million a year seller. But on the individualized services and on advertising management, we really kind of start at any level. So
that's awesome. So obviously you've grown to a little bit of everything. Like any service agency, you found your niche. Are you currently still selling, or did you do that and you stopped it, just not have enough time?
Yeah, I mean, I have a small brand. I've always just done it to stay in the game. So I brought some partners into that business this year, put a little money into it. We're growing out the SKU line, but I don't spend a lot of time on it. I maybe 2, 3, 4 hours a week.
No, I mean that's not a bad thing. I know a lot of people listening. We have a couple of people who are just saying hi from various places around the world. I know a couple of people from India. But obviously, there's some people who are asking, like Hari, who said hi earlier, already payment gateway is flooded with many players. How are you planning to stay in the market? I think that's a question for PingPong, actually. So I can talk about that a little later, Hari. This is just a forum that we like to have. Crossover commerce is something we like to invite our guests to give a different perspective in the industry, and would love to obviously answer that question here a little bit later. But I'll make sure I circle back with you. But and then some people who just want to stay in touch. So that's obviously a plus. So if you're listening from India or anywhere in the world, obviously we'd love to hear your questions, or just let us know what you're thinking. Keith is a great person to ask those kinds of questions. He's spoken to thousands of people before. I've worked in various capacities in different e-commerce markets as well. So we'd love to answer your questions, but it's kind of a Q&A between Keith and I, just a little bit about, personal life, professional life, and give you guys a little bit of perspective on, to walk away with today. So Keith, you've built kind of this industry. How big is Page.One now?
Depends on what. So side clients, we have a lot.
Okay.
We do.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, we don't have a massive fully managed business. We're just growing it for about a year. But we have a number of clients in that space. We manage 50 plus, advertising accounts, probably shoot a few thousand products a year, and about the same on optimization. So we have a staff of 14 spread out between Florida, different parts of the US, and a few places overseas. And then we have 3 full-time people in addition to that, overseas as well, for backup graphic design and things of that nature.
Very cool. So you started in reviews and ranking, correct?
Back in the previous company, yeah. Back in I Love to Review 6 years ago.
Okay.
But we're pretty white hat. We're pretty straight laced when it comes to Amazon. We're never going to do anything that's going to put a client account at risk. And so we just moved out of that industry when it changed. And we were doing ranking campaigns for a while, and then a couple of years ago decided to move completely out of that space.
Right. And being from a former company myself that was in ranking and launching services, that is a tricky industry to get in. I know we've had people from like Rank Bell before, Isabella Harrison, from Rank Bell. And there's just so many different companies out there. It's very tricky with Amazon nowadays of staying ahead of the game. Again, Feedback Wiz does the same thing with reviews and reviews and ratings. There's so many companies out there that honestly just struggle to stay ahead of the game. They do a good job when that's their business model, but you kind of walked away from that. What was that decision? Did you just not want to have to deal with Amazon's ebbs and flows of making a decision and then having to adjust everything?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, as an agency, you want evergreen businesses, evergreen services that are not going to, everything changes anyway within Amazon, ecosystem. So, within photography, there's always new things that are coming out within, design, like, they're always changing the templates for A+ and what you can and can't do. But in advertising, right, there's 5 or 6 ad placements that weren't even available 2 years ago. So, even within these evergreen services, there's still so much to keep up with to stay on cutting edge and the leading edge, really, of the industry. And then every time something changes, you need to really dig in and test it. So we just wanted to move away from services that are kind of pushing up against TOS based on interpretation. And so, I think that those are areas that Amazon can always change how they're enforcing the interpretation of TOS. So for ranking campaigns, right? Like, I don't believe they're against TOS, but I think that how they interact with them and how they choose to enforce them based on that given interpretation of it, based on what's happening in the environment, I think is always going to change. And so not really interested in playing that game.
No, that makes complete sense. And for everyone who's just joining us, I have Keith O'Brien, the CEO and founder of Page.One, which is an advertising agency that obviously helps anywhere from listing optimization, PPC, to creative services. Which, for my question, Keith, since there are a lot of agencies out there who do very similar things, what's kind of the one thing that you push your team to separate yourself from everyone else? Is it, obviously there's so much you can do in terms of like how you write a listing or how you optimize a campaign. What do you consider yourself the game separator?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I'm the longer you're on the planet, like, if you're really being honest, the more you realize how little you know, right? So it's a constant, and anyone that is in e-commerce that doesn't think that they're just a continual student of the game, is going to be behind the game at some point, right? Because it changes so fast. So, look, I mean, there's a lot of great agencies. I'd like to think that we're better at a lot of things than others, and I think that we are. But the reality is, you're constantly moving forward, and I think that where we're unique is we're going to have a really close connection with the customer, with the client. We have dedicated brand managers that are constantly in the loop with clients on everything on the account, right? There are a lot of agencies, but there's not a lot of full service agencies. So a lot of agencies that are full service will outsource design, outsource copy, outsource photography. Very few agencies in this space have photography in-house, right? And is it necessary? No, but is it an advantage to have your creative be connected with your copy, be connected with your advertising and the direction of your brand? 100%. So absolutely. That's really where we have a unique feel for our clients.
So is there some avenue specifically that you guys want to continue to grow in? Is it that creative services aspect, or is there another topic or area you guys want to continue to push yourselves and grow in?
Yeah, no, I think the future for us is continue to push the fully managed division, right? So managed services for us, it's a more of a predictable business model, like you guys, right? Right. And that the biggest challenge on the agency side is everyone wants things done really well and really fast, right? At a really good price, and so pricing, we're never going to be the cheapest. We're by no means the most expensive. But as an agency, you've got to staff ahead of growth in order to keep up with client demand. And so some level of predictability in the business is always good. But that's the area that we're most focused on, is managed services.
That's awesome. So yeah, I mean, that makes sense, because a lot of people, I think there's the big school out there. A lot of people just like getting their hands dirty and want to be in the nitty gritty of running their own business. But there's a lot of people who just don't have the time to stay up to date on all of the facets that, like you had mentioned, the creative services, the listing optimization, the campaign management. A lot of people just want to outsource that stuff and focus on other aspects of the business, which is where agencies like you guys come into play, which, makes sense. That's why there's a niche out there for agencies like you guys. So what's kind of that thing that gets you guys excited every single day about working with brands? Or, they're not all the same, right? They're different products, they're different, they're different marketing techniques that they want to use to get out to people. What gets you guys out of bed every morning?
Yeah, I think ultimately, as human beings, we're hardwired for progression, right? We all want to grow, we all want to move forward. And I think that's the same as our team, right? So I think everyone gets excited about solving problems, about implementing creative strategies and solutions that are going to move that brand forward, and tackling hard stuff. I mean, sometimes the hard stuff is not the most fun, but it's and all of our accounts are really, really different. We have some large catalog accounts that needed everything from all the way down to catalog, rebuilding the catalog to make it actually make sense on Amazon. But I think this year, we have a store that, product review wise is really challenged. Like, I think their store wide rating is like 3.2.
Oh, wow.
But we've grown we've grown them about 250% in 6 months, right? So even with that, what would typically be, a really problem store, we've got after it and done well.
So I had Hinson from Feedback was on last week, and we talked a little bit about reviews and rankings. It sounds like that's a problem area for this one particular store. What's kind of that thing that, from your perspective, are people focusing more on ratings or reviews? Because for those who didn't join us last week, the difference between rating and reviews, Amazon split the two, I want to say about a year and a half ago. Yep. It used to just be reviews, right? Someone would have to go in, mark 1 through 5 stars, and they would have to write a certain length of text to give it, whether it was a couple sentences or a couple words. But now you can actually just punch in 1 to 5 stars and that's it. So that's what a rating is. A review would have written words behind it. What do you think Amazon is doing with that? What's your perspective on that?
Who knows, man? I stopped trying to figure out what Amazon's thinking a long time ago. I think, like, it's always funny, it's like whatever our mind wants to believe, we can start compiling, like, the evidence will support it, right? So just like in today's world, right? We believe a certain thing, and then, oh my God, all these things that are happening around me, I told you I was right about that, but then someone on the other side could have just a different belief and find evidence to support it. But, who knows? I think, they were trying to, at some level, make it easier for people to leave a rating. Obviously, that seems obvious, but who knows? I mean, I thought they were going to do, like, where you'd segment them, where, like, as soon as you had over 500 reviews, it just kind of said over 500, because it's ridiculous with something with 25,000 reviews, right? Like,
right.
Crazy.
I think it's crazy. Yeah, certain products on there, it's just like 30-something thousand reviews. It's like either pillowcases or bed sheets. I'm like, this is unreal. Like, how have you been around that long to garner such a tactic? But
and honestly,
I mean, it's fantastic.
Like, when we shut down I Love to Review, like, it didn't, when they changed the TOS, it didn't stop the practice. It just stopped the compliant practices, right? Mm-hmm. So, and this is Amazon, right? When they make a ruling across the board, it doesn't really stop the situation from happening. It just stops the ones that are trying to do it right. So the ones that don't care about doing it right are never going to stop, ever. It's just never, right? So, on that particular, account, we just knew we couldn't win the review battle, right? So we don't even focus on it, to be honest. Like, there's nothing, like, these guys happen to have really strong retail distribution nationally. And so they have a lot of people that know their products. And so it just, the volume they're selling at retail, someone comes back and might leave a review on Amazon or buy a second one. And so just by sheer volume, they're and a lot of their products are somewhat subjective in nature. And so it's just kind of the nature of that space. It's gonna, we just couldn't win it. So we just focused on sales.
Yeah. Are you guys as an agency, are you focused on outside traffic driving to Amazon listings? Or is there other tactics that you guys push?
We do Amazon only. And so we're already fairly wide on the services we cover, 2 different aspects of creative, advertising, copy, management. So, we've got to be really deep in channel, and that's where we're trying to focus. And that's actually a lot of our clients, a lot of our full service clients, their Amazon business is just a portion of their overall business makeup. And so by putting Amazon under management with us, they can go focus on driving external traffic. They can go focus on their website growth. They can go focus on retail. They can focus on distributor distribution in different parts of the world. So, that's what we do. We free up an entrepreneur's or business's time to go put the attention in other parts of the business that they're good at growing.
Awesome. And that sounds like a good time to reintroduce us and to kind of go into my next segment of questions I have. Again, everyone who's joining us on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, thanks again for spending some time on an early morning for you on the West Coast or later around the world. We appreciate it. This is Crossover Commerce. My name is Ryan Kramer. I'm the affiliate marketing manager here for PingPong Payments. We are a cross-border payments service, almost like a digital bank account for you. For Amazon sellers and e-commerce sellers. I have today the CEO and founder of Page.One, which is an Amazon services and creative agency, Keith O'Brien. Keith has spoke to thousands of people before in various capacities when it was okay to still talk in front of people. Now we're doing it digitally on shows like this. But Keith was awesome enough to join me today to answer some of your questions. We're talking about balancing not just Amazon, but like life and entrepreneurship in general. Keith is ownership of many different employees. So Keith, both on a business perspective and then as an agency, you have to balance multiple different clients, right? Big and small, and give them full attention. How do you do that? And what's kind of that time management that you have to use in terms of making sure everyone gets the job done and everyone gets the right amount of attention from you as an agency?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, we're very process driven. And I think that, without that kind of backbone and foundation, it would be a mess, right? So, as any entrepreneur can experience, you get up and you start working, and sometimes you feel like you're busy all day, and then you look at the end of the day and you can't figure out what you actually got done. So that would be a symptom of processes not really well defined. And so we are big on process. So everything we do inside the company is processed out from the minute we take on an account. And since the one good thing I'd say, since we have been doing individualized services for so long, so for 4 years, right? So we understand, all the different pieces that go into that one listing optimization, that one product photography photo shoot, or that one design, or that one ad account build up. So since we understand, we've built all those things out well in advance, then the brand managers are really freed up to really focus on strategy implementation. And so, we craft out the strategy for a client over a specific period of time. We back that into the actual tasks. And so it's all process driven and really built out. And so our brand managers, which are who the point of contact is for each account, they have a certain amount of time that's going to be set up for strategy, or some certain time for workflow oversight and implementation, and then certain time for client communications. And so, if you do that right and you just stay proactive and you stay, looking ahead while managing the day-to-day tasks, you can get, you usually have happy clients that are moving forward.
That's awesome. Is there any software, or do you guys, just because you've been in it so long, that assists you?
Oh yeah, it's all in the head, right? No,
the trade secrets are all up there, not sharing with anyone.
No, we have a lot. So on the internal side, we run our project management software as Asana. It's an off-the-shelf. We used the free version for years. It's really solid. It's probably got the most for a free version of anything on the market. And then we upgraded, built it all out. And so we've used that for a long time. When just before COVID hit, we moved over to Slack. And so we just completely eliminated all internal emails and chat and all that kind of stuff that is just really non-efficient, but it's so easy to do. So Slack's taken over.
Can you send a Slack to my company and tell them that too? Because sometimes I just feel like that's part of the business, right? Loss in communication. I feel like there's such a struggle, even internationally or just in the same city. Companies struggle with getting a message across to another person efficiently. So when you said get rid of emails entirely, I feel like that's just a stressor that brings on so many people on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I can't see any reason for a company to have internal email in today's world. I mean, it's really, really inefficient. Yes, you can search it, but it's not attached to the customer. Everything's out of context, and then running your business through email is so incredibly inefficient. So anyway, which is what you end up doing when that's the basis of your communication. I don't even like talking to clients through email most often.
We actually, sorry to go off the Slack. We actually had, and maybe you can touch on this potentially. Francois is actually a friend of the show. Francois, thanks for listening. For those who are internationally, if Slack doesn't work, I know personally, Francois, we do have a couple of different employees who are able to either VPN or able to use Slack when they're talking from China to us. But I know that is a big issue from some companies in terms of like firewall. Keith, do you have any types of communication with international clients? Whether it's, you said this is mainly internal though.
Yeah, so we use Slack. So we use Slack for all of our internal, everything's department based. And then all of our full service clients are set up with Slack channels. So that's our direct communication to our clients. And we have international clients, but no full service clients that are out of China. Unfortunately, China's internet world is a little
it's different for sure. The laws and regulations are definitely more complicated.
So, but we have, all of our international staff are all able to access it. So, and then we have an internal portal built out for our individual side of the business. So individual services, if we're doing a single listing optimization, a single photo shoot, or a small group of them. So that's an internal platform portal. So clients have login, everything goes up and gets set up through there. We kind of have an internal chat so everything stays with the client account. But those are our main softwares. We use PackView as a base software for PPC management, and we're a big believer in, when it comes to advertising on Amazon, we're a big believer in automating certain tasks and then not automating other tasks, right?
PPC is not that's a topic. PPC is not something you just set and forget it, but certain tasks you can definitely get efficient enough and be
100%. There's really no reason to be manually adjusting bids every day, or every other, or once a week, whenever you do it, because you can program that in based on the logic that you create, right? There really isn't really any reason why you should be manually harvesting keywords and these kind of things, right? There's just tech does make our life easier when used properly, right? But to not have control over your bid adjustments, or not have control over some of those really important decisions in the front end, we're not of that mindset.
100%. A couple more questions actually came in. Again, everyone, thanks for joining us today. This is Crossover Commerce presented by PingPong Payments. I'm your host, Ryan Kramer. I bring on guests like Keith every single week. We'll have another one later this week on Friday. We're talking about PPC with better AMS actually. But we're gonna a couple quick questions that actually came in from our audience. If you have a tool, if you're listening right now, if there is a tool that you're using that's efficient for your internal communications, let us know. I would love to kind of either discuss it or just kind of know what people are working with, and then external as well. But Keith, I think you talked about clients and keeping full records. There's a question that came in from Brennan that he says, when I'm bouncing between clients, it's nice to have a one view that gives me what happened recently rundown. Is there any tips or ideas that you kind of run in across?
It depends on what part of the business you're talking about, Brendan. That's my son's name, by the way. And a good old family name for us. Yeah, it depends on what you're looking to find out, right? So we have some customized reporting that's been built that gives a lot of it. Some things in some of the softwares like Helium 10 or Zon Guru will give you a snapshot. Unfortunately, Brennan, if you're a consultant or own an agency, you know that a lot of the tools that are out there that really dig into those type of details on a client basis are not really set up very well for agencies. I don't know why. It seems like an easy blue ocean opportunity for a lot of these software companies, but I work in a web marketing design for small. Got it. Yeah. So I think for us, that system is our internal Asana, Brennan. So we'll have I can overview. We have boards built out, for departments. We have boards built out for clients. And so that's a really nice snapshot of where everything is from a task standpoint. But if you want to go in and actually see kind of data tactical results, you're going to we use one of the pieces of software. So PackView is probably the most encompassing, and they're better and better. So they've just launched new updates a couple months ago. So now it's all linked to profitability, and you can input COGS and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I get it, Brendan. It's
he says he's about 2 steps away from building their own project management system. So
I totally understand, and you're going to do that, and within 90 days after building your own, there's going to be just as many things that you hate about the one that you just built. And now you got to go get someone that built features onto it that you didn't.
I think the thing I could take away is do something you're comfortable with and that everyone can buy into, and then obviously iterate from there, whether it's an outside software service or it's a internal system that you guys build out. I know I always roll my eyes. I'm like, I have either Google Sheets or I have Salesforce, or I have just so many other different calendars that are going. It's really hard to have a one all-encompassing place that speaks to everything. So I think it's just find what works for you, Brennan, and then obviously, go from there. But there's another question that came in terms, Keith, maybe you can talk about almost a little bit about the future of Page.One. Are you guys planning to expand in some of these same principles, selling on marketplaces like Walmart or maybe a Shopify, so on and so forth? Is that something that you guys envision yourself down the road, either in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I'm not going to say no, but I also won't say yes. So we're very focused on building out our brand management team on Amazon. So we are we know the right types of clients that we can do really good work for. We know who we can help grow when we have a level of confidence within the Amazon space. So honestly, it would probably be some sort of JV or integration or acquisition than it would be before building it out. If we did anything, we already our photography is used on pretty much every platform there is, right? So we do 360 spins, the whole thing. So
right.
We already have assets being used by companies on different platforms. So the only thing we're not doing is managing that. If anything, we'd start with advertising, but probably not building it out. So again, you can be wide on channels or wide on services, and we're wide on services.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest question a lot of companies like you always face, or any kind of software service, right? Do you want to expand so that your product is accepted almost everywhere, but it's very narrow of what you do, or do you want to be able to do what what you do very well and go deep into that niche. And so I think that's honestly what a lot of people struggle with, but it's also, there's a good mix between. So just be like the expert at one thing, or there's always that adage, right? You can be the master, good at everything, but the master of none, or you can be the master of one thing. So that's obviously for each company. I think what you guys are doing is obviously great. And if the opportunity presents itself, maybe that's something where you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the need is obviously there, so, but, don't get me wrong. If I owned a SaaS company, we'd be building functionality as fast as we possibly could across market.
100%.
But, service business is quite different. And, you always have to, it's, the business is somewhat easy to get, but you've got to have a level of expertise to keep it, right? And so, we want long-term clients. We don't want to lose managed service clients ever, right? We do, but at the end of the day, I mean, as every agency does, but we want 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and year relationships with clients that we can just help grow year after year after year.
Absolutely. And then we had one more question come up from Brennan, but for everyone joining again on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, thanks for joining us. This is Crossover Commerce. If you have questions, send them in. We have Keith from Page.One, who is a creative service agency for Amazon, here to ask or kind of answer your questions, but also I have a couple more would love to give to you. Obviously, Keith, if you have to wrap up sooner, let us know. But the questions are coming in. We have another one from Brennan, actually. Second question, or part 3 maybe. Do you let your clients interact with your project management system? I'm gonna get that right today. Yeah.
So yes and no. So we let them interact with our the one that we've built out, our client portal, right? We do not put them into Asana ever, right? So Asana is our space, and that's where we're talking back and forth internally on a team with the team. So, like for example, I know you're a web designer. So inside of our portal, like when we do a creative project, we do a photo shoot, we create an entire shot list. The client's going to interact and make comments on that shot list and approve that shot list before we actually go to a shoot. And that's true for any creative project. So we're going to get feedback on that, and we're going to, just like with you guys, right? You want to make sure you've got direction, approval, all these things before you open up even that first file to start designing. So we do interact with clients on the front end, but once it hits our project management system, we do not.
Gotcha. Yeah, we had to deal with something similar when I worked for Viral Launch, when we were doing creative services, both in photography, and then we were doing it for PPC management and other kinds of services. There's no right way to do it. Obviously, I'm going to go back to the whole adage. There's no right way to do it. It's whatever makes you feel comfortable, and making sure people understand this is the web flow, if you will, or just kind of like your flow into. Once it goes here, it's going to automate into someone's inbox, and they're going to know, hey, now is the right time to shoot product photography after we receive payment, or you received copy, or you received your sample, if you will. There's so many different things that you have to manage, which is why there's project managers never get all the praise and glory that they should, right? Trying to keep everything together.
On the back end of this, because I know it's a lot of, Brennan happens to be in the industry, but there's a lot of people listening that are just, clients of agencies and service providers, right? So I will say this, and this is certainly not just for us, but if you want to be a favorite client of the agency you're working with, here's a few things that you can do, and here's a few things I'd recommend that you don't do, right? So when you work with an agency, really be thoughtful and think about everything you possibly can in advance of putting them to work, right? So if you're talking about on a photo shoot, right, don't be the guy that comes back after the photo shoot with 3 more ideas about what you can do with your product after it's already been shot, right?
Exactly.
So every agency every year goes through their clients and say, okay, who are our favorites, who were challenging ones, and they start thinking about, how to build out better processes to circumvent some of the challenge spots. And if you're working with an advertising agency, like, you got to remember, you're not hiring your own PPC person, right? You're hiring a portion of probably a really well-paid expert's time. Now, you cannot you can't compare it to the to the PPC consultant that you hire off of Fiverr or Upwork. It's just a different deal, right? These guys are one-man shows. They don't have staff to pay. They don't have offices. They don't have any overhead, right? And they're going to stay at whatever level connected to the industry as a whole. So, if you're working with a PPC agency, you don't really want to be pulling their attention away from your account during the month. Like, you really want to be thoughtful. You want to make sure they have the information that they need in terms of your business goals, your data points that are important, your budgets, and all the things that you want to actually do. And then you got to give them space to do their work. Now, obviously, if things are off, then you need to come back into it. But advertising does need some time to let the work actually play out. And depending on the strategy, that could take longer than other things, right? So, you don't want to be the guy, regardless of how you're communicating with the agency, in there talking to them every day, because that's just going to be an overwhelming amount of customer service that they have to deal with.
100%.
Yeah.
And Brennan has one more question. He swears it's the last one, but again, anyone who's watching, seriously, we will answer your questions or try to get to them, or at least get them answered. If it's after the fact and you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook later on, you can obviously, we'll make sure that at the end of this video, you know how to contact Keith or myself. Obviously, you can reach out to me anytime on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the social media networks. You can reach out to us for sure. But Brennan asks, how do Google Ads interact with Amazon PPC? Okay, that's a very, very generic question, but maybe we can dive a little bit about what you've seen and your expertise on that.
Yeah, so I'll read into your question. So, what's up, Anthony? He's everywhere, man. That guy's everywhere. So, I know. Look, Brennan, so the short answer is they don't really interact with Amazon PPC. I mean, you can definitely drive external traffic to Amazon. About a year and a half ago, they launched the Amazon Attribution Program. So now that external traffic is trackable, where you can get dedicated links to put in to pixel out your advertising. So that's good, and you definitely should be doing it. The thing about the thing you want to be careful about with outside traffic on Amazon is that Amazon is such a closed space, and your ranking is so dependent on your conversion rate on a listing. So you really want to be careful about running too much cold traffic directly to your listing, even if you are tracking that through attribution. You want to make sure that you're getting the customer, more down the funnel, ready to make a decision on Amazon. Because you could have, we have clients with conversion rates of 30-35%, which would make most website owners, do backflips 6 ways from Sunday. So you just want to be careful with that. Amazon does have their own, DSP, you have off Amazon advertising that you can run through Amazon. They have their own publisher network. So much more robust, and they're catching up with Google quickly in terms of the comprehensiveness of the ad platform.
Right. And maybe I caught this, and maybe to simplify it, do you suggest people run ads to their product listings ever?
I think there's probably more cases against it than for it. Amazon does love external traffic, and you get some reward just for bringing, eyeballs in. But, I think that running into an offer probably is smarter, and before you're going to get them over to Amazon. But again, as a marketer, you should just test, And any answer that I could give that, would seem universal is always going to have exceptions, right?
Right. And Brent had one more follow up. I think wouldn't you want to run organic SEO?
Sure.
Sounds cheaper. Yeah, and I think I can. Yeah, 100% SEO as long as your listings and everything follows protocol on Amazon's TOS. That is the cheapest way to do it, and that's the most logical way to do it.
Yeah.
I think go ahead.
If you set up your listing correctly, Brennan, if you noticed, virtually every product-based keyword on Google, Amazon's going to rank on page 1 for something, right? And so if your listing is set up well and correctly, and you start selling, right, you're going to rank on Google, right? You should rank for your brand name plus your product for sure. And then the general keyword terms are going to be really based on your listing performance on Amazon. They always want to make the most money per search, whether it's on Google or on Amazon. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So Keith, when you're staying up to date on all this information, going back to some of my questions again, everyone, thank you for joining us on Crossover Commerce. This is a show that I run, and I bring in people that I know that can help give a different perspective on the e-commerce and Amazon industry. Keith from Page.One is here, or Page.One. Gosh, I always want to say Page.One.
Okay, man. You're never going to get corrected for speaking our URL, right?
Hey, exactly. I will make sure that's how exactly how to find their website is Page.One.
Fortunately, we rank for both of them. So
that's amazing. I mean, it makes it easy to remember, but I've trained my mind without you telling me that's how you do it.
I know. I will forever be trying to buy Page.One.com. So
yeah, that's something that you should definitely.
So if you're watching this and you're the teacher in Texas that owns it,
have they given them? Have they given them their terms for what it would cost?
They haven't responded to an email. It's been owned for a long, long time.
Darn.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a nice URL to have. But for everyone who's joining, Keith is the founder and CEO of Page.One. It's an Amazon creative services agency based in Florida, but has clients all over the world, mainly large and small. We're talking a little bit about like how do you balance both entrepreneurship, Amazon, and personal life. So Keith, kind of what's going on nowadays, I think everyone can attest to, is like, there's a global pandemic going on. How have you kind of rebalanced everything in terms of like work life and personal life? I'm assuming you guys work from home majority, if not the whole time.
Yeah. Like everybody, this year has been a challenge, right? So, I'm out of my home. As you can tell, I got bad lighting. I keep getting shadows on my face because
it's so sunny out there in beautiful Florida.
It is, right? So we went remote about 2 weeks before the rest of the country did. Back in early March, and we just didn't really want to be scrambling when everything else was going to be scrambling. So, but like there are some of our services, primarily photography, that you need to physically be present, right? So it's really the only thing we need an office space for. If we were just all full service or all advertising management, or even all graphic design, we probably wouldn't have a physical location. But we actually just moved about a month ago. So we have our local office is like a flex space. So the photography is in a huge warehouse type space with a mezzanine for offices up top. We put the whole thing under air so everyone's comfortable. But my photographers have been there the whole time. So, they're separated. At the beginning, they're in different studios wearing masks. Now it's been, 9 months. They're very comfortable. It's like their family. So they're comfortable with each other. One graphic designer has gone back to the office. She's up in the mezzanine, has the whole space to herself. She feels like
very spread out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, look, I think, I think as an employer, you've got to you have to do all the things necessary. You have to give people choice. To force somebody into a situation, I think is crazy. Everyone's got a different level of comfort, and you don't know their whole story, right? So, like we have our head of production just come back from maternity leave. Won't be coming to the office anytime soon.
Right.
But everyone else is kind of settled in virtually. But we'll always have space because physical product photography.
Right. Do you think that's for service providers or agencies? Do you think that's changed fundamentally how people are going to operate in the future?
Oh, I think without a doubt. I think that for bigger companies, they're starting to see what's possible, and they're starting to see people's productivity not being in the office. And so I think it's always been something that smart, process-driven companies have done, and that agencies that kind of have this kind of controlling top-down approach probably have always struggled with outsourcing. And so it's really forced everybody to figure it out and get better at it. But what I think, at some level, what it's done, Ryan, that has been a great thing is it's opened up the global marketplace, right? So,
right.
If I wanted to have a physical presence-based agency, my job pool, my talent pool is South Florida, right? Or occasionally I'll get someone to relocate and be able to come, do that, but it's far more expensive. And, when you're just pulling from a local marketplace for your talent, I mean, you're going to be limited by who actually lives there. So
right. Who can drive to your location, right?
Yeah,
or commute there.
So, we brought on a brand manager full time. I mean, the funny thing is Europe, both Eastern and Western, they've gotten with it, and it's in a lot of places, a lot of areas, it's no longer you're not saving money, by outsourcing overseas in a lot of areas. These guys, their talent is really up on par, right? So,
right.
We have a full-time brand manager in Israel. They most recently worked with a very large internationally known brand in-house. So, when you're open to, putting people on from all over the world, you can find really the right people for the position.
Absolutely. And I told this story a couple of times on some of our live streams. I'm based in Indianapolis, Indiana, which is in the Midwest. If you're in India or around the world, if you don't know where that is, that's perfectly fine. It's a joke that I even tell my colleagues in California. But I've never met anyone from my company in person. Like, I started in this role with PingPong back in April, and to this day, I still haven't met any of my colleagues. Even some of them, one of them is 3 hours south of me. Never met any of them in person. It's all virtual. And I think so many people have gotten used to working with, hey, I can get my job done here responsibly and drive results. But also, I know I can reach out to people via Slack or via other communication channels. And just like this, get on video call if you need to talk to someone face to face. So I think that's definitely changed the way a lot of people think, like not just going to the office. There's that camaraderie, obviously. I think
100%.
Networking is one big thing. I think networking is the toughest thing that's struggling with when we were talking about events. You and I were talking about, for example, Prosper Show this year. For those of you who don't know, it's a huge event that happens every March, I want to say, in Vegas, where a lot of e-commerce and Amazon get together to network and build relationships. That didn't happen this year. They tried a digital show, which is a different entity in itself, but you're trying to get people that are in their houses to your event. It's just different, and you have to think differently how to get in touch with those people.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that we happen to be, we're a unique company in that our staff all really likes each other. Not that doesn't happen in a lot of places, but, pre-COVID, the core operations team and creative team, they'd meet for a happy hour every Friday. Because they wanted to. I mean, it wasn't,
wasn't mandatory. Exactly.
So, as a company, we get people together fairly regularly, or at least back in the day. But that was just something that they started and enjoyed doing, and I think that that is missed, right? Because like business isn't just about the results and the task getting done and all these things. It's mostly that, but work takes up such a big part of our personal lives, and there's lots of different ways to draw satisfaction and enjoyment. And one of the big challenges in a world of COVID is making sure that we cultivate that human connection.
100%.
It's paramount to life, and it's paramount to happiness and joy and all the things that are the reasons that we work in the first place, right? To do it. So anyway, yeah. So there's that. I've got a lot more. I mean, my girlfriend international and all these things. So there's been lots of different things, but that's it from the business standpoint.
Yeah, and real quick, before we let you go and we kind of sign off real quick, Kaylee, that show is called Prosper. It's called Prosper Show. So if you just Google it, the event happens mainly in person. It'll happen in Vegas. The last time I talked to the event organizers last week, actually, they don't think that it's going to happen again in person, probably until maybe summer of 2021. So if you're looking for events, there's plenty of digital events that you can safely go to. Some countries are starting to open up very small conferences for a list of those. You just have to like search through Facebook communities or just know like IRCE is Internet Retailers Conference in Chicago. There's a lot that happen out of Las Vegas, but that's the event that we were referring to earlier.
And then first half of 2022 is going to be is an aggressive timeline for most big events. I think that remains to be seen. I mean, as we're seeing right now, we're 8 months into this thing, right? And
it's kind of taking, you blink and it's 8 months later, and people are kind of just used to it. And again, we always caution, just people take your time, do what's best for you, your company. We never tell people one way or another how to operate. And obviously I'm assuming with your own company, Keith, just let people make their own choices, but obviously keep other people in mind when you make those choices. Yep. Just, be a human in that regards. I know we're coming up a time, kind of crossing over that noon time in Eastern. For those of you waking up on West Coast, if you didn't catch everything with Keith and myself, please obviously reach back out to us. Keith, how can they get in touch with you or the team over there at Page.One?
Yeah, so I think, two different ways. So I'd say if you're interested, if you're, an Amazon seller, Amazon business, you're interested in talking with us about how we may be able to help, just get over to our website at Page.One. And you can reach
number
out.
one brand evangelist right here.
Yeah. You can reach out directly there. I do most of my my business networking on LinkedIn, so you can find me there. It's Keith B. O'Brien. Put a B in the beginning or the middle of that. Like for someone like Brennan who works with another agency, Brennan, we actually do about 30, maybe 35% of our business with other agencies. And so I'd love to connect and talk about how we may be able to support each other. About half of that, ironically, is with other Amazon agencies, Ryan. So, if you're a competing agency that is hearing this, don't think that just because we have some overlapping services that we can't figure out a way to work together, because we play nice in the sandbox with everybody. So, for example, we do a ton of creative for other agencies that don't have photography in-house, that might not even have design in-house or even content in-house. And so, we can take a piece of a project and not have to take the whole thing. For non-Amazon agencies, it's just a great collaboration. If you have e-commerce clients, then they should be if they're not on Amazon. And reciprocally, we have clients that are need to build or make adjustments or redesign their own website. So yeah, we work really well with other agencies and can really add value in areas that they don't do.
Absolutely. Well, I know that's our time. I know I don't want to take. There's so much more we could talk about. I know we just scratched the surface with you,
You
Keith.
can always come back.
Yeah, absolutely. We love having, and for everyone who is joining us, we do this every single week. We have different guests on to give different perspectives. We go live on Amazon, Facebook, YouTube. We try to get all this messaging out to give you a different perspective, to ask questions in an open forum like this for industry leaders like Keith. Invitation's always open, Keith. Again, how you can find him, follow him, or find him on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to him and his team at Page.One. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Just search Ryan Kramer or PingPong Payments and follow us on all of our social channels, because this is where we start posting out all of our calendars that will come out and our speakers that would talk on specific topics. If you have questions or specific events or different kinds of people you want to have on, message me directly, and we'd love to have those people on as well, and I can get those scheduled out. But Keith, thank you so much for having taking the time today to kind of talk a little bit about everything. I know balance is kind of like the overarching theme, but we talked a little bit about that, I think. Yeah. We'll get more deep into different things. We didn't even talk about your background, your love for food, which I was super excited about talking about today, but
All right. Another time, man. We'll come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Keith. Again, everyone, for Crossover Commerce, my name is Ryan Kramer. Keith from Page.One or Page.One. Gosh, I'm going to keep doing that. Page.One. Right. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me on, Ryan.
Yep. Have a good one.